Hi, Max Brantley with the Arkansas Times on Friday, October the 13th, and even though it's a superstitious day, there's a little piece of good news for some people today from Arkansas. The 8th Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals today, a very conservative appellate court, surprised some people today by voting 2-1 to allow a preliminary injunction to stay in effect against a new Arkansas anti-abortion law. This is the law passed in 2017 that would have made it just about impossible for the 3 remaining abortion clinics in Arkansas to provide pharmaceutical abortions, that is, pills that are provided to induce miscarriages in the first 8 to 9 weeks of pregnancy. A district judge had ruled that law unconstitutional, and the 8th Circuit had sent it back for more consideration of more specific evidence in the case on the burden this would cause women. A substantial burden is what it would cause. But they also declined to keep her injunction in place. Planned Parenthood filed an emergency appeal, said it wants to go to the U.S. Supreme Court and have the law declared unconstitutional. And in a 2-1 vote today, the 8th Circuit said yes, the injunction can stay in effect. So it is still legal for women to go to Planned Parenthood clinics in Little Rock and Fayetteville to get pills to end pregnancies in the very early stages. This is a safe procedure, safer than natural childbirth, in fact, but the anti-abortion forces were not looking to protect women with this law, but to put Planned Parenthood out of the abortion business. If they are successful in getting this law in effect, they will do that. Elsewhere today, Donald Trump's still making news. He added an executive order yesterday on health care with a late night order that says they're going to stop the government payments of subsidies to insurance companies to help cover the cost of insurance for poor people. Well, he says this is going to create a great new world in the insurance market, and among those who cheered the decision was Senator John Boozman, who used to not like executive orders when Barack Obama issued them. Well, this is what Donald Trump's executive orders will do. It will make the United States government spend more money, will cover less people, there'll be less options for insurance coverage in the marketplace, and it'll increase the federal deficit. That sounds like a deal to you, doesn't it? And not so much to me. The lawsuit's already been threatened by the state of New York and perhaps others. There's a way to go before this takes effect, but it gives you an idea of whose side Donald Trump is on when it comes to health coverage. Trump also said that the Iran nuclear pact can stay in effect for the time being. He doesn't like it, of course, and he's hoping Congress will fix this thing up a little bit. So there's that news too. Meanwhile, in Puerto Rico, which continues to get a cold shoulder from Donald Trump and others, even though it's a U.S. Commonwealth full of U.S. citizens, has less electricity in the island today than it had yesterday. Gives you some idea of the level of emergency work there, and 60% of the people in Puerto Rico don't have access to clean water. The situation is much better in Texas and Florida. I'll leave it to you to decide why. And finally, one more thing about Donald Trump. He appeared at a conservative political groups meeting today and talked about Christian values and how much he shared them. It was a good message from a man married 3 times that has a number of sexual assault complaints pending against him. A man who went on TV once unintentionally to talk about how he liked to sexually assault women. Those are values today, and he's our president. Well, speaking of values, in Little Rock last night we had quite a little to-do. There was supposed to be a rap concert at the Metroplex Center today featuring Moneybagg Yo, a rapper whose concerts in some other states have been marked by some violence in the crowd, not linked to him, by the way. Well, that upset some people. I think rap music upsets white people, generally speaking, in Little Rock. The city board got wind that the police chief had raised some concerns about security a week ago, and in fact the concert promoters had responded. They added 5 off-duty police officers to their large security force of about 50 people. 15 police officers were going to be hired. I'm told that there were dozens others who were going to be there in plain clothes. The police chief thought he could guarantee security at the event. He was a little reluctant, and properly so, I want to say, for Kenton Buckner, to try and shut down a concert because people didn't like the content of what was going to be said on the stage. Well, Mayor Mark Stodel wasn't having it. He wanted to go to court, believe it or not, and try and get an injunction. They were going to have an emergency city council meeting last night, perhaps to authorize this court action. The concert promoter decided not to press the issue, so no concert, no city board meeting, no lawsuit. There are going to be further rap concerts in the city, and we do wonder if the mayor is going to continue to press to have them shut down because of fear of violence. As somebody has noted, I don't think it's a direct comparison, but it's certainly true. We're going to have a concert this weekend from the man who was on stage in Las Vegas when 58 people were killed. Nobody's suggesting anything should be done about that concert, of course. Elsewhere, the Dover School District up in Pope County canceled school today. They had some unspecified threat. They later decided it was not a credible threat. Happy to hear that. School continued to be closed, however, but not to worry. They will play football in Dover tonight. Some things are very important. Interesting lawsuit filed yesterday in Little Rock yesterday afternoon. We learned the family of Beverly Carter, the real estate agent who was abducted and then killed by two people who had set up a fake house visit with her about 2 years ago. They've sued the real estate agency that employed her for not doing sufficient training to protect her out on her work. There's been a lot of comment on whether this is actually the real estate agency's fault in this, and in fact, Carter was said at the time to have been very careful about the types of visits she did, because it is difficult being a single real estate agent out in sometimes remote places showing houses. Anyway, that's going to proceed in circuit court, and we'll be watching it. And I discovered a little piece of information about the loose ends lingering from the lawsuit that successfully shut down the pork barrel money laundering scheme, in which the legislature sent money to regional planning and development districts, and then the legislators told them how to spend the money, invariably for very local projects, which in theory are not legal under the state constitution. The state can't appropriate money for local projects like street lights and equipment for police. That's supposed to be a city responsibility. Well, there's still $1 million worth of those grants pending, I learned yesterday, that were not yet paid out. They did manage to spend $1.5 million since a lower court ruling in the case. They're going to go back to circuit court, and they're going to have to send that money back to the Treasury. Interesting list of 31 projects that didn't get fully funded. And one thing I did learn in the course of investigating this is that guess who got $100,000 in taxpayer money through this money laundering scheme? The Arkansas State Chamber of Commerce, the business lobby. It's going to pay for some sessions it wants to have around the state to help business people operate as good businesses. Well, I'm sure they won't have any meetings at those sessions on how to work with union employees or how to pay higher pay to workers. You can bet on that. Seems to me the business lobby can pay for its own meetings and not have to rely on taxpayers for the money. Perhaps at least until they come up with a new money laundering scheme, they'll have to get their money elsewhere. And finally, there's this. I don't know, there's a big football game tomorrow. You may have heard people are not too happy about the prospects for the Hogs against Alabama. Here's my question, since she's being asked about everything else. Why did Hillary Clinton let Jeff Long hire Brett Bielema in the first place? That, by the way, is kind of a joke. I'm resisting the effort by some people to turn everything into a Hillary question. If we wanted to elect her and make her responsible, we should have. And meanwhile, what we've got to do is resist. I'm Max Brantley. I'll be back next week.